This is a demonstration of how to draw a dragon. Okay, first of all, dragons are reptiles, and I'm kind of basing this on lizards and dinosaurs. So we're going to start with, this is going to be a flying dragon, and what we're going to start with is the long action line of the figure. It's going to be something like this, meaning the head's going to be turning roughly here. The neck's going to come around, and then the body's going to twist. Now, just like on a human, you still have the three main forms of the torso, which is the head, the rib cage, and the hips. But in this case, for obvious reasons, it's a long body, different proportions. So this is going to be the general shape of the dragon, and his tail will come out here, and we'll probably, because of the shortness of the page, have to loop it around somewhere here, say, as if it's continuing through. Alright, let's start with the head. The first thing you want to do is get the general shape of the head. And I tend to think of the head like a box, in terms of this is the direction that things are going. So here's going to be the snout area. Here's the upper jaw. Here's where the mouth goes. And now we got to do the open mouth, which has to feel like it's dropping down from here. So again, we look for the angles to be consistent. Okay, so here's the jawline. Now, you got where the eyes are going to be. Here's the center. I'm looking, here's the center. Here's going to be where the eye might fit in. Okay, you want it to look angry, so you bring the eyebrow line down. And now, since we're getting more refined in detail, I'm going to add where the top of the nostril, where the top of the nose area is, to where the nostrils are going to be. And here's one nostril on the outside, and again you come across, and here's the other nostril on the inner part. Okay, and then you come out for the lips, or so to speak, the lips, if he has lips. I'm thinking again of a lizard, which doesn't have lips the way we know them, but whatever. So, here the mouth comes, and then it turns downward, because you don't want him to look, this is an angry dragon, alright? And again, here's the eye. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is he's going to be kind of snarling, so you're going to get lines around the eye that would flow and emphasize the form. Now, the next thing you want to do is get, we'll say he has a horn between his nostrils, so here's the horn. Then, maybe he has a horn back here, because don't forget this is a fictitious creature, and then you'd have a horn on the other side. And again, the angles. Try and keep them consistent. So here's this, and what we haven't gotten to is the jaw, or the teeth. So here's the jaw dropping open. Here's that thing that all lizards tend to have between their top jaw and their lower jaw. Now for the teeth. Drawing this one, and then again using the idea of a box where the other one lie. Teeth are long, you want to keep them pointed. You want to keep some of them shorter, just to add variety. So here's the teeth on the upper part, and now for the teeth on the lower part, same deal. Look at like the angle things are going at, and you got this tooth and then this one in this corner. Now if you wanted to make a tongue coming through, this would be a good time to do it, because the tongue comes in here, and again it would have a curve to it because it's a lizard-like tongue. So it's behind the front teeth, and then we'll just draw some teeth on the lower jaw, and on this side you wouldn't see them because the tongue is in the way. You would see one slightly here. Okay, and if you wanted to, you could have something dangling off his chin, whatever. Even though technically if they're lizards they wouldn't have any kind of furry. But he's a dragon. Okay, now let's give him like a kind of fanned out area here, so just to make him look more alien. So it's going to have 3 prongs. This being the first, switching back to different pencil. This being the second, and this being the third. Notice they're all in an arc. That way it makes it easy to do the webbing in between. Now I'm just setting this up so you can add more details in later, but this is the initial setup. I'm reversing the paper to check out how it's looking. Okay, so now we go on to the body. Switching to a softer pencil again. Alright, so we gotta work on the neck. It's coming around. The center line is coming out from the bottom, but it's switching around because he's twisting. So here's the shoulder, or what we would have as a shoulder, and here's his outer arm, and here's going to be the position of his hand. Now you have to kind of think of how lizards look, because on the one hand I'm also thinking of a human. You want it to look a little creepy, but you want to also have it, this is the palm area, and here's the muscle of, this would be the upper arm as it twists around. So here's the fingers. This is the general feeling. Now again, you're thinking on an arch for the fingers, meaning from knuckle to knuckle to knuckle. Same thing with length. It's going to end up being an arch. Okay, and here's, he's going to be more turning, but still. Okay, this hand, this arm, I'm thinking of it doing this type of thing. You don't want the hands at exactly the same level. Maybe this one, okay, get near the end of the page. So in that case, I would maybe move this up, allowing for more room to draw the hand. Or the opposite, you can move it down. The good thing about the arms, and especially when they're flying, but the arms in general, they're not holding weight, so you don't have to worry about is the weight factor right. So I'm going to do it downward. They don't have thumbs, so here's the general shape of this hand. And this shoulder has to relate to this shoulder here. This arm has to have about the same thickness as the last arm we drew. And the forearm should look roughly the same length as the other one. Okay, so there's, and again I'm finding the center line, which is going through here and then coming under. Now if he was standing, you could actually use this part as a standing pose. Meaning, what I'm going to do next is put the lower leg would be big and thick, because that's what they really would rise up on. And again, I'm kind of thinking of a lizard, and at the same time I'm thinking of a human. This part's like a human upper leg. Here's where the knee area would be. Here's the lower leg. But the difference would be, if you ever had a lizard, which I had the fortune of having an iguana, it kind of does this. I can't describe why it does it, but this is going to be the part where the foot hangs off of. And again, you got the toes, and I'm looking from here to here to see that. It's very similar to the hand, especially on a lizard. Okay, so in fact that makes me want to change this hand. Why? Because you don't want every friggin' thing to be doing the same thing. So this one I'm going to have where it's more profile, and then we'll see the fingers dropping down from, it's weird without a thumb. Maybe I'll just give it a thumb for the hell of it. So here we go. So that's a different hand than the one we had before. Again, based on a human, but exaggerated for the sake of a lizard. Or a dragon. Okay, and if this is attached here, meaning if this is this leg, maybe this leg will be going downward. Roughly from here to here is the size of it, so figure it's attached on the other side, is roughly about the same size. And then it's going to have the same, but now it's again, it's lower and somewhat going off the page. So I'm going to raise this guy up just to okay, and then of course lizards have tails, tails coming through, and maybe have it overlapped by this. Okay, so now we got the basic pose, so we can go back and customize the lizard a little bit. I wanted to drop his eye down lower. No particular reason, I just wanted to. I thought it would look better, that was the reason. Okay, so let's get those snarl lines. Now again, this is like all animals, and this reads as snarling. And then you get kind of frown lines here. Okay, as far as this, what direction is it moving? It's moving back, so any kind of stripe will, or you know, whatever those are called, will help push it back in space. Same thing here, it would help push it back. Now again, it's a lizard, and lizards have plated, some of them have a plated underside. Now, okay, so here the neck is going to insert into the body. So I'm working my way back to get these plates on them. And at this point, you'd be seeing, you know, this is the thickness from here to here. So it's going to move around as he comes around. We haven't done his wings, I just realized. Okay, so here's like where his, this would be armor over his chest. And continuing doing the plates. Okay, so now let's do the wings while I'm thinking about it. Okay, where would the wings come from? Well, they could come from the middle of his back. So here's the beginning of the wings. And I picture the wings having like kind of bat-like. So they might have like a horn right about here. Not that bats have horns, but I'm thinking of a shape that's demonic looking, let's put it that way. Okay, so here's the wing. And here's the sections of it. And here's the, you know, the front of the wing that has all the muscle to help it move would have to be thicker. So give it a thickness. And if you want, you can kind of give it, these are kind of like S shapes that make it feel more muscular. Or interesting at any rate, hopefully. This might fade. Now you got this coming. And again, as if it was on an arch. Okay, I'm going to go back to where his elbow is and have a horn at the end of his elbow just to make him look more dragon-like. If you do it there, check out this one and put it in, because it is symmetrical. Okay, now for his, see in this horn, if you were to put those marks in, it's coming towards you, so it would be going this way. My hand's erasing some of this drawing. Okay, so here's the bottom of his jaw. Back onto this side. Okay, if that attached there, somewhere back here, it's going to attach. You'll see it coming out. Won't see much of the wing, but right about here, you're going to have another one of those horns. And again, we need to make this look thick. As it comes in. And I'll give it again the S curves. Okay, the wing's attached there, so you're not going to see, most of this is happening behind, so really what you're going to see maybe is this much of the wing. Okay, so now we got that going on. Let's give this a little better shape, like, again, thinking of a human leg. Give it the indent in the upper leg, curving under. And, oh yeah, not supposed to do that much. Okay, so, to refine it further, let's just, a lot of it's just like going back and restating things, give them some long claws. Okay, and then of course things like, you might see a little bit of the knuckle. Well, you probably would see. Not might. Again, it's up to you, because there is no dragon, but I'm thinking again of humans. Just like in a human arm, you end up with the muscle that comes here would go this way, and then you might get a muscle that goes this way to give it a little bit of interesting inner contours. Alright, we lost a lot of this by getting rubbed off, so I'm sticking it back in, putting the tongue in. Maybe give him a fork tongue. Make the teeth a little thicker so that they show up better. Dropping this down a little more. Okay, now as far as the lighting goes, decide what side you want. The light's coming this way, okay? I usually do it that way because I'm right-handed. So first of all, the first big section is his head is blocking the light on his neck, and the shadow of the head will fall across the neck. All this here will end up in shadow. Okay, so this is going to end up in shadow. The head has a side plane, so basically most of this is going to start picking up shadow, and then the side plane of the head falls into shadow. You want little pieces of light to catch details. I switch pencils a lot, obviously, depending on the softness, but I'm just trying to bring out okay, and these have, this is the underplane, underplane, underplane there. Same here, there. Okay. From the corner of the eye, maybe you want some. Alright, so now it's at its darkest right here. It's where the shadow is really being cast and beginning. Switching pencils again to a softer pencil as it comes here. Alright, so this arm, most of it is going to be behind the body, or at least this part of it. So you get a shadow cast. This is the shadow side of the figure. By the way, which side, the other reason for having the light come this way, it's part of how I just design it automatically, but you want the shadow to follow the action. The action is like the long line of the figure. Now I'm just catching all the underplanes right here when I go back into it. Okay, now here's the arm, has a shadow, and pictorially I'm not going to, technically this arm, well, we'll do it. It's casting a shadow onto the body, because the lighting's, like I said, it's overhead, it's up here somewhere. So you got to think this arm casts a shadow, which will make this leg pop out a little bit. This is underplane. Again, I'm thinking if this is an egg shape, 1/3 shadow, and then as you come into the tail, again you got 2/3 light, 1/3 shadow, and it helps pop that leg out more. Now this leg is really in the shadow. Like all this you want to take down in value as it turns under. When things also, it's all relative, but as things go under, yeah, they fall into shadow, but you don't want your shadows as dark and deep because it's moving away from you. You want the things that are coming towards you, like say this and this, they can have more either harder lines or more value contrast. Throwing a horn back here. Whereas this, it's back, so you just want to keep it even as you can get it, and just tone it down. And as it gets away from the figure, it's probably going to fade a little. And to balance it, actually, I'm going to like put more shadow on this part of the arm. Okay, same thing, you know, I mean, when you start really thinking about it, all this starts pretty dark, and then it moves into the light. Again, here, it's easier to do it on as it comes more towards you, meaning away from the corner of the page. Starting darker here, gradating. You can even, you know, make this, you don't have to make this all even, you can have like slight bumps in it. Shadow side, this casts a shadow. Shadow side here. Technically, all this gets taken down in value. Why? I mean, I'm doing this fast, but it'll silhouette better. As a shape. And again, you know, this is back. Trying to think of which way things are moving when you do this. Alright, so now I'm going back. The head's like the main focal point, so I'm going back, reestablishing the eye, so the eye stands out. This is underplane. Here's the nostril. Like, you can start going nuts doing the whole head in detail. I'm not gonna, because it would take, you know, it would be kind of boring to watch. Unless, of course, we sped this up. But the idea was to do the basics of a dragon, which I think we've sort of done. Okay. I'm going to narrow the tongue. I don't like the thicker. It looks too thick. And I'm going to drop it down more. Okay, you're going to arch it. That. You know, it's all up to you. You know, and then give even little details like that. Around his lip it's hard, and you got the... And then you got these things that'll